All right. Good evening, everybody. Can we hear me? Let's do confirm on the chat if you can hear me. We are live now. Can anybody hear me at all? Okay. Can we hear me now? Can everybody hear me? All right. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. We are welcome to the first session for this week, which apparently makes it the fifth session in our data analysis class, one ahead of every other class in a way. All right. So, okay, good. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. So, we are going into the session right away, and we have quite a bit to cover today. I just need us to be all focused so that we do not have to drag ourselves back, sort of. I would start with a quick recap of what we did last week. What I need from us is everybody just go to the chart, type one key thing that stood out for you from the session last week. Just one thing, everybody, type that for me on the chart very quickly. One key thing that stood out for you from last week's sessions. Okay, I see forms, I see ETL, the use of equal to, thank you, Faith, data validation, excellent. How to insert comma and remove decimal, excellent. Sum ifs, max if, good. Others keep it coming. Out AVV, I don't care, that's good. Calculations, interesting. Importance of Excel functions are unique, that's good. Forms, nice. All right. Okay, good. Thank you very much, everybody. That's what I would just implore us is what would happen from now on is that we would be having a lot more things to look at. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So from now on, we would be stepping up our Excel game. So what that means is that we've tried to set a bit of the foundation, and so laying or premising on that foundation, we'll now continue to look at a few other things, and then we graduate our knowledge of Excel till a very more comfortable level. So today we're looking at something different. So last week we looked at functions, whereas considering those that are related to numbers. Those are not all functions that we use for numbers or we use for calculations or aggregations, but we wanted to limit it to that first because we're just starting. So today we want to look at functions that are related to text. And when you talk about functions that are related to text, essentially there are two areas we'll be looking at this from. There are certain functions that we would use to manage inconsistencies in our data. There are certain functions that we would use to extract from data. There are certain functions that we'll use to create some other things based on what we already do have. So those are the things that we'll be looking at in the training today. But before we go on, please do confirm on the chat if you have access to the exercise file that was shared with you. So we have our file for today, and I'm assuming that would have gotten to us. If you do have it, please confirm on the chat by typing a yes on the chat. quickly, everybody. So you should have Excel functions 2, text. That is the file that you're using today. Type yes for me on the chat if you have the file. If you don't have the file, I'm assuming again, I didn't check the Telegram group, but maybe it was shared on the Telegram group. You may want to check that so that you can have that opened and you can follow through with the class today. Those of us that we have the file, your codes. Okay, so the Telegram group, somebody already responded. So do go to the Telegram group and pick the file from there so you can have access to it and you can follow through with the class. All right, so while you're doing that, we have different case studies that I want to look at. But again, if we look at the functions that we studied last week, in a way, we probably would have looked at 15 functions already based on the sessions that we had last week. Today's session would add to your arsenal as regards the functions that you would know or that you already do know when it comes to working in Excel. One important thing is that the approach we're taking to learn all of this is a sort of a case study approach. What does that mean? I'm not just telling you that you use the sum function for this or this is what it does. We are using it and we are applying it in something close to a real life scenarios, a scenario that you might find yourself in when you eventually get to an analytics related role. The same way is how we're going to go about our learnings for this week. What it means is that there are different case studies we'll be looking at, which are the common use cases that you might find yourself in for you to want to apply some of these. And that's what I've prepared in the workbook that you have before you. We have 5 different case studies to look at. So I want us to be, to put our minds into this. Let's be very focused, eschew any form of distractions so you do not miss anything out of the sessions as we go on. And while we go on with this, if you have specific questions, do not hesitate to drop them on the chat. I have my honored admins. They will be picking the questions for me. And if I'm able to spot some, I definitely would respond almost immediately, while others would be tracked. And then we can look at that later while we are rounding up. All right, so what we're starting with is this. Everybody, the first worksheet is what you should be on, which is text extraction. That is what you should be on. What we want to do here, the case is that we have a company who has lost their records. Okay, so they lost their records, and now you, as the analyst, you have been saddled with the responsibility of assisting them to come up with these details. The only thing they were able to recover, so I'm going to zoom into this. The only thing they were able to recover were the codes that we have here. These codes are the only things they were able to recover. But these codes in the business, they have meanings. And so they have now sought from you, the honored analyst, to assist them to extract the department code, the purchase date code, and the asset category code. I need us to understand the case firmly first before we go to how to solve it. And one important thing when you're working with Excel is that Excel is more about critical thinking. You are thinking through a problem, and then you would now sieve through the database of your Excel knowledge to see which of these which of them can you leverage from what you have in your database of Excel knowledge to solve that particular case study. So that's what we're going to exemplify now. So we have this code here. These were the only things we were able to recover. And then we are to extract the department code from this code, extract the purchase date code from the codes here, and extract the asset category code from the codes here. But to assist us, they went on to give us this explanation here. they had told us that whenever we are looking at this code here, the first two digits in the codes that we see in the cell, the first two digits stand for the department. The first two digits stands for the department. Then the next 6 digits stand for the date of asset purchase, which is the purchase date code. That's the next 6 digits from here. The last 4 digits is for the asset category code. I'll take that again. What we are saying is these 3 columns here would come out of this column. We want to extract these 3 columns from this singular column. But for us to know what exactly to extract, they already told us that when we are looking for department code is in the codes, but just the first 2 digits. Purchase date code is also in this code, but the next 6 digits. And the asset category code is also in this code, but the last 4 digits. That is the definition they give to us here. So how then do we solve this? Number 1 is this. Whenever you want to extract from text in Excel, there are 3 functions you would use primarily. We have left, mid, right. These 3 functions are the functions that you will be using primarily to extract from text. So you have a large text, you want to extract a chunk or a portion of that large text, then you use one of these 3 functions primarily. But in some cases, these 3 functions alone will not give you all you want. So there are 2 other functions that are some sort of helper functions that you will use alongside this. So these 2 other functions, so I'll come here a bit. These 2 other functions are search and find. So I want us to just follow this for now. Let's follow this for now. So we have left, mid, right. Those are the 3 functions that you use primarily whenever you want to extract from text. But alongside these 3 functions, you have these 2 other functions that would come in as helper functions to manage the extractions, depending on how complex your extraction is. So bear it in mind that you have like 5 functions that most times you may want to fall back to get answers to whatever kinds of extractions you want to do in Excel. I'm saying primarily. There are some other functions you might want to think about, but for now, let's limit it to this. When you want to extract, you are starting your extraction from the leftmost part of an original text, then you should use the left function. When you're starting your extraction, or what you want to extract is on the leftmost part of the original text, then you would use left. When what you want to extract is at the middle, somewhere at the middle of the original text, then you use mid. You want to extract from an original text, you now figure out that what you need is somewhere in the middle of the original text, then you would need to use the mid function. And when what you need is on the rightmost part of the original text, then you would use the right function. I take that again. Use the left when you are extracting from the leftmost part of an original text. Mid when you're extracting from the middle of an original text. Right when you are extracting from the rightmost part of an original text. Then I'll come back to search and find. So I have a few questions for us now. So with this explanation that I just gave, we already said that the department code is the first 2 digits of our codes. So if we want to extract or pull out the department code from codes, which we had said that it is the first 2 digits of the codes, which of these 3 functions would we use? Left, mid, right. Left function. Excellent. Now, asset category code. We said the asset category code is the last 4 digits. Is the last 4 digits of the codes. What are we going to use to extract it? Left, mid, right. Asset category code. What would you use to extract that? Left, mid, right? Right function. Perfect. Now coming back to purchase date code. We said the purchase date code is the next 6 digits. First question, if the purchase date code is the next 6 digits, what digit would you start extracting your purchase date code from? What digit would you start extracting your purchase date code from if it is the next 6 digits? Somebody said 1, that would be wrong. What digits? We said the purchase date code is the next 6 digits. Remember that we already had the first 2 digits to be for the department code. Now we said the next 6 digits will be for the purchase date code. So what digit would you be starting from? Third. So you'll be starting from the third, which tells you that somehow you probably will be extracting from the middle. And if you're extracting from the middle, it means that you would be using the mid function. Perfect. So if this is clear to us, so how then do we use the left function? So let's come here. So everybody look at this. Look at this, everybody. Now we want to extract the department code, which is the first 2 digits. You had already told me that it is on the leftmost side, so we are using the left function. So what we'll do is this, I will do equal to left. Remember that left is a function. And I told you in the last class that whenever you are using a function, you have, or you want to do a calculation, you have to start with the equality sign. So I do equal to left, I tab, and now we have how many arguments? Somebody should look at the left function and tell me how many arguments it has. How many arguments? 2 arguments. From these 2 arguments, do we have anyone that is optional? Anyone that is optional from these 2? Any of these? Yes. Okay, good. So we have one that is optional, which is the number of characters, and the text, which is the mandatory. So now, like I mentioned to you in the last class, let's try something first. Left function is asking for 2 things. The first one is the text, which you want to extract from. That's your original text. And the second argument here is the number of characters, which is optional. So it just asks you how many characters do you want to extract. So what we'll do is we'll select this as the text we want to extract from. For the moment, I'm going to ignore the number of characters because it's optional. And remember that I told you in the last class that whatever optional argument you have, the argument can be ignored and your function will work. But you just need to understand what it defaults to. So if I close my bracket here, ignoring the optional argument, and I hit enter, what this does is that whenever you are using the left function and you do not supply the number of characters, which is the optional argument that you have, then bear in mind that your left function or the number of characters default to 1, and your left function would always extract 1 character so long as you do not supply the optional argument. All right, then I'll go back into this. We have asked it to extract from B10, which is the codes, and then department code is, we said it is the first 2 characters. So I'll just put 2 here as the number of characters we want to extract. I'll close my bracket here and I'll hit enter on the keyboard, and this just extracts out the first 2 characters, which stands for the department code. Make sense? I'll do that again. Equal to left. Select the text as this. Yes, it's possible it's B11 for you. That's not a problem at all. I'll put a comma and then I ask it to extract 2 characters. Close my bracket, hit enter on the keyboard. Please copy your formula and type it on the chart for me. Drop it on the chart for me. Once you've gotten this, type this out on the chart for me. Okay, so for the last time, everybody look up in case you didn't get this. First thing, equal to left, and you press tab to open the initial bracket. Then you select the text you want to extract from, which is this, comma, the number of characters, 2. I'll close your bracket and hit enter on the keyboard. All right. Excellent. So now, once you've done for the first one, you don't need to go repeat the same thing for whatever is below. Okay? What you just need to do is to take your cursor, this mouse, take it to the bottom right rather. Once you take it to the bottom right, you see that it changes. It becomes deepened, sort of. And when you get to the bottom right like this, such that your mouse cursor changes, then you can double click. I'll do that again. Once you have your result in the first cell, then you can come here to the bottom right of that cell. The bottom right of that cell. Once you get there, you see that your mouse cursor changes to a crosshair like this, and then you can double click to fill it down. Once you've done this, please type yes on the chart for me. Yes on the chart if you got this. Makes sense. All right. So, quick one. We have sorted out the department code now, which is we're extracting the first 2 characters from the codes. Now I want you, everybody, go to the asset category code. That's the last column. Asset category code. We said the asset category code is the last 4 digits. And you already told me that because we are extracting the last 4 digits, which is on the rightmost side of our codes, then we would be using the right function. So I want everybody go to column E, where we have asset category code, go extract asset category code using the right function. Once you're done, paste your function on the chart for me. Asset category code, that's what I want you to do. The definition is it is the last 4 digits. Excellent. I see some correct results coming in. Good. Anybody have any challenge with this? Tried it, didn't get it, got an error. Once you get it for the first one, remember to do the same thing to fill it down so that it completes it for everything there. Somebody wrote right B10 over 4. Over 4 would not work. You need to check that again. Excellent. So let's go quickly to purchase date code. Purchase date code, we did say that we are going to use the mid function for that. Reason being that we are extracting from the middle. So once we show we're extracting from the middle, it means we'll need to use the mid function. So I'll come here and I will say, just come here, I'll do equal to mid, equal to mid. I'll open my bracket. Someone should spot this. Mid has how many arguments? How many arguments does mid have? How many arguments? Mid has 3 arguments. Perfect. The first argument, which is text, that is the norm. Start norm is the character you want to start extracting from. What position do you want to start extracting from? Number of characters is how many characters do you want to extract from that position. So think about it this way. Mid is asking for what you want to extract from, that is the text. Start norm, from where? Where do you want me to start extracting from? And how many characters should I count to the right from that place? So if I'm starting from here, how many steps should I go? Picking each of the characters on those steps till what you want me to end on. So I'll pick this as the text. This is what we are extracting from. I'll put a comma. Start norm, you already told me that we are starting from the 3rd character, which is because we said that the first 2 is for department code and the purchase date code is the next 6, which the next 6 will be from the 3rd. So I'll put 3 here. That's where we're starting from. And then the number of characters is, we said, the next 6 digits. So that will be 6. And I'll close my bracket here. I'll hit enter. So everybody, I'll do that again. Equal to mid. I'll select this. This is the text that we're extracting from. Number of characters, sorry, start num, that is 3. That's where we're starting from. Number of characters, 6. I'll close the bracket. I'll hit enter on the keyboard. So complete this and put your code on the chart for me. Okay, so for the last time here, mid has 3 arguments equal to mid. There are 3 arguments here. The first is the text you want to extract from. Start norm is from the text you want to extract from. What character position do you want me to start from? That's what this is saying. Remember that mid is starting from the middle. So what character position do you want me to start from? And the last argument, number of characters, how many characters should I now return? Starting from where you specify. That is what the mid function is saying. So mid function is asking for 3 things. The text you want to extract from, start norm, where should I start from within this text, and how many characters should I pick from that start point. Comma, then 3, that is the start position, and the number of characters 6. I'll close my bracket, I'll hit enter. I hope this is clear to everybody now. Excellent, Oiza. All right. Quick question to everybody. Take a moment to think about it. Take a moment to think about it. Can we use the mid function? Can we use the mid function to extract the department code? Can we use the mid function to extract the department code? Can we use the mid function to extract the department code? And think about it. Don't just say yes or no. You might need some seconds to process it. If it's possible, what would change? What will happen in your mid function for that to be possible? Remember that this is data analysis. We need to be at the top of our thoughts. Critical thinking is a very important skill set you must have. I see no's, I see yes. All right, so let's do this. I want to use the mid function to extract the department code. What will happen is this. Remember, I do equal to mid. Everybody look at this. I do equal to mid. Mid is asking for 3 things. The first is the text. This is the text, right? If we want to extract the first 2 characters, what will be the start norm? If you want to extract the first 2 characters, what will be the start norm? What will be the start norm? Excellent, Prince Will. It will be 1. That's where you're starting from. And then you're extracting 2 characters, so the number of characters will be 2. I close my bracket here and I hit enter, and we get absolutely the same thing. Why did I bring this up? There's a default programming behind every function that you want to use. So Microsoft had programs that you should use this function for this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the only case the function can solve. So that is what I want to open our minds to at the moment. So you need to understand beyond the obvious. And that is the reason why I'm taking my time to explain the argument. So when you understand the argument of the function, you will know that you might be able to tweak certain things within that argument so that it solves some other scenarios. Does this make sense to everybody? So we can proceed. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Good to go. All right. So let's move on to the next worksheet, text cleaning 1. So everybody go to text cleaning 1. What we want to do here is this. In real life scenario, for the most part of your career, especially if you're working in a structured environment, you're working with systems that generate data, you're downloading from systems, you will get your data come out in some dirty format. Your data would not always be clean. If your data is not always clean, then you need to know what are some of the issues you may have and what are some of the ways you can go about cleaning the data that you have. The first thing I want you to look at, everybody, is this. Take a look at column B. Everybody take a look at column B. We have staff names in this column. Go to the chart and type out any inconsistency or any sort of dirtiness that you see in the way the names are written. Type that out on the chart for me. Look at the column B, and type out any sort of inconsistency that you think exists on this. Case of letters, thank you, Oiza. Lowercase, uppercase, allow me, good. Mixed cases, good. Number of characters, not sure where that. Extra spaces, Olamikosi, excellent. Case used, caps lock and small letters, irregular format, excellent. All of those are issues that you would naturally deal with in your data analysis journey. So if you want to deal with this in Excel, how do you go about dealing with something like this? When it comes to cases, when it comes to working with cases or converting text from a particular case to another case, there are 3 functions that you would use depending on the case you want to move to. We have lower, we have upper, and we have proper. These are the 3 functions you would use to manage cases in Excel. Lower, upper, and proper. So looking at these 3 functions, everybody go to the chart. Tell me what you think each of these functions would do. What I expect is maybe you think that we use the lower function when we want to convert to capital letters, or we use the proper function when we want to convert to small letters. Just make some guesses. Look at this. Look at these 3 functions and tell me what you think, or the cases you think we can use them to convert to. Lowercase, okay. I'm not saying that's right yet. Lower to convert to small letters, okay. Lower to convert to small letters, okay. Everybody's picking lower first, good. So somebody else should go to upper. Let's see what we think. Proper is to be used for the space. Interesting. Proper to regularize spaces, okay. Fixed inconsistency, lower is for small letters. Okay, I've not seen anybody writing anything for upper. What do we think upper? Okay, somebody said upper to all capital letters. Good. Upper to all capital letters. Excellent. What then is proper used for? Anybody has an idea? Proper to both lower and upper. Interesting. Proper to capitalize first alphabet of each. How did you get? Okay, excellent. So you're correct. Lower, that is used for lower cases, as the name implies, lower cases or small letters. So now I'll give an example. So I'll just use my names here. So if I do this, this is what lower would give to us, something like this. Upper will give this to us, like this. What then will proper do? Proper would give you the same text, but with initial cap. That is what proper will do. So the first letter would have capital letter, every other would have small letters. So proper would give you this. Does this make sense to everybody? Lower would give you this, everything small letters. Upper would give you this, everything capital letters. Proper would give you this, initial cap. So the first letter would be in capital, and every other letters will be in small letters. All right, so let's go apply it now. But before we go to apply it, I want us to do something first, which is we want to, for these people here, we want to generate their salaries. And we want it to be just some random salaries. We don't want to type in manually here. How can we generate the salaries randomly? So when you want to generate random numbers in Excel, how do you do that? Very simple. There are a number of functions that you can use to generate random numbers. But for this case, we would use rand between. So I want everybody just follow this through. Equal to rand, like this. You see that these three functions, they are the functions that you can use to generate random numbers in Excel. But I'll come here to the last one, which is rand between, not ram, rand between, like this. So select rand between, and now this is asking you for the bottom and the top, which means between what range do you want your numbers to be? Do you want your numbers to be from 1 to 1,000, from 1,000 to a million, from a million to a billion? You just need to specify the bounds, and then Excel will generate something in between the bound that you have specified for you. So here would say that for me, anyways, you can use whatever you want. I would say that I want something between 10,000 to 50,000. I want something between 10,000 and 50,000. And bear in mind that your top must be higher than the bottom. So you cannot have the bottom to be higher than the top. You might be getting some errors. So I hit enter here. It gives me 17,574 for Jolly Yami. Then I can just double click my fill and it posts it down. Once you've generated your random numbers, type rand on the chart. So I'll do this again, equal to rand between 10,000, 50,000. I'll close my bracket, enter. I got this, and I copy this down. Okay, excellent. So now, once you have this, then let's proceed to the next column. On this column, we want to eliminate unnecessary spaces from names, which is the column that has the names. We have seen that there are more than one spaces in some names. Jolly Yami probably has 3 spaces. Ali Sharif has just 1. Abdullah Adamu here has maybe 4 or 5. We want to eliminate extra spaces, and you don't want to do this manually. That's why you have Excel. So you shouldn't come in here and you are manually taking out the spaces. So you should never do that in Excel. So how then can you do this with a function in Excel? What you technically need to do is to use a function called trim. So just like you have excesses everywhere, and then somebody asks you to trim things off, okay? So you come in here and you do equal to trim. So when you do equal to trim, the only argument that trim is asking for is the text you want to trim. And what it does is that if you have any leading space, which is a space before the actual word, it takes it off. If you have lagging space, which is a space after the word, it takes it off. And if you have extra spaces in between, it reduces them to just one space in between. So that is what the trim function would do. So once you type equal to trim, select the first name you have and hit enter, and you immediately would see that the space, the extra spaces that we initially saw, had been taken care of. So I'll do this again. Equal to trim, equal to trim, and then you select Jolly in Yummy, you close your bracket, and you hit enter. Yes, everybody, we most likely would all get different numbers because they are random numbers. And when you do your trim, I want you to keep your eyes on the numbers again so that you observe something about it and you tell me what you observe. But complete your trim first and just keep your eyes on your salaries. Once you've completed your trim, put as usual. So you should drop your code on the chart for me. The numbers changed. Excellent. The numbers change, it keeps updating. So there are some functions we have in Excel. I won't go deeper into them for now. But there are some functions we have in Excel that are called volatile functions. So volatile functions are functions that continually update as you do things within your workbook. So whenever anything changes in your workbook, those functions would update. So one of the function is rand between. So rand between, the number, it continues to recalculate every time that you do something within that workbook. There's a way you can fix that, but let's not do that yet. If you have some time later, we'll be rounding up. I'll show you how you can fix that. All right. So everybody, you have done your trim, and you will now notice that the spaces in between Jolly and Yummy has been reduced to just one. Then fill this down. You know how to do that already. Push it down so that it does the same for everybody. Let's go now. Let's go further. Names written in uppercase. So we want all our names to be written in uppercase. So instead of having some in upper, for instance, Jolly in all upper cases, Inyame in all lower cases, we don't want that to happen. So we want to make this all go into uppercase. How do we do that? Come here, we already mentioned that you use the upper function if you want everything to go to uppercase. So I do equal to upper here, and select the clean Jolly Yami, the one that is just right behind, that is E6. And you hit enter, and you observe that everything is now in uppercase. So do that now, everybody. Convert column E, all the names in column E, everything should now go to the uppercase. And you paste your code on the chart. All right, so I'll do this again. Equal to upper, then you select the already trimmed Jolly Yummy, that's the one right behind, and you hit enter on your keyboard. Now you have Jolly Yummy all in uppercase. Then you can push this down. All right. Okay, so I think we are at the top of the hour now. So let's go on our break quickly. And once you're back, would pick it up from here. Ensure that you use for those of you that you need to catch up with maybe some minutes, you can quickly rewind so that you catch up with those, and also use the time to fill out the attendance form. All right, thank you everybody. Let's enjoy our break. See us in 10 minutes. All right, so break is over now. If you can we hear me? If you're back with me, please type back on the chat. So let's quickly proceed. Break over, break over, break over. Type back on the chat if you're back with me. All right, so let's shoot up from here. We already converted our names to uppercase. That's what we did in column F. Now we want to take the names to lowercase. I believe everybody can do that now. If you want to take the names, convert them to lowercase, what function would you use? We already mentioned that before we went. You use the lower function. So use the lower function on the names on column E and paste your code on the chart for me. You can hold on the attendance for people who have not done the attendance. Hold on that. While we are wrapping up, the link will be up again, so you can fill that out, please. Convert your names to lower cases and paste your code for me on the chart.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Nairametrics space. I hope everyone had a good day.
All right, excellent. So everybody move to column H now. So just for the benefit of those that didn't get it, so I'm gonna do this here. Use the lower function equal to lower, and I'll select the name here. I'll hit enter. That gives us Jolly Yummy, all in lowercase. Then I can push this down. So let's move on. Names properly entered. We do know that we have to use the proper function if we want the names to be in the proper case. So do this now, everybody. Paste your code on the chart for me. Excellent. So I'll do equal to proper equal to proper. I'll select this and I'll hit enter. And now each of the words now have initial cap and we have this properly written. Okay, so let's go to this now. Remember the badly written name that we had. That's what we have on column B. So for now, I will just hide everything here so that you can see these two together. Yeah. What we expect here now, so everybody concentrate. What we expect here is to have Jolly Yummy written like this. Jolly in Yummy like this, which means we would have it properly written. At the same time, we would have gotten rid of the excess spaces. And we want to do this in a single step. Before we were able to achieve this clean name before, we went in two steps. We first trimmed, taking out excess spaces, then we went on to now convert it to proper case by using the proper function. How then can we achieve these two things, these two transformations in a single step? Okay, if you want to hide columns, this is what you do. highlight the columns you want to hide. Highlight the columns you want to hide. Then just place your mouse cursor anywhere between the columns that you've highlighted. Do a right click and you see the option to hide. You see the option to hide. Alternatively, because I like shortcuts, so I highlight all the columns I want to hide like this. Once I've highlighted everything, I'll press Ctrl 0. So when you press Ctrl 0, you see that everything is hidden. And how do you know that the columns are hidden? This is column A, this is column B, then we jump to column I. So you see that there's something thick in between. This tells you that some columns are hidden. And if you want to open them up, you have two options. You can either highlight the two sides of the hidden column like this, and then you do a right click and you say unhide here, or you come here where you have the thick line in between, can come in between here, double click, and that would open them up again. All right. So now we want to achieve these two transformations in two steps. So this is the bad name, the badly written name that we initially had. We now want to clean this up, eliminating the excess spaces. At the same time, we want to convert this to proper case in one step. What we'll do is we already know the two functions we are going to use. So we'll combine the two functions in a single calculation. So I want everybody to look at this. Just watch this, get it once, and then we move on. So I'll do equal to, I can start with anyone. You might decide that you want to trim first. So you might decide that you want to trim first like this. Equal to trim like this. I select this name here. And then I hit enter. That trims the name for you, right? Once you have the trimmed name, then on your formula bar, you can come right in front of the equality sign. Right in front of the equality sign, I will now type the other function I want to use, which is proper. So I'll type proper in here and I'll close my bracket. So now what I'm saying is trim the text you have in B6 first. When you're done trimming it, then you convert everything to proper case and I get my result all in a single step. I'll do that again. Equal to trim like this, equal to trim. I select the text we want to trim. I hit enter. We have trimmed it. Then you can go into the formula bar now. Right after the equality sign, I type in proper and I come at the back to close my bracket. So I'm saying that trim the text first, then convert it to proper case, and I hit enter on the keyboard. So everybody do this and you give me the code on the chart. All right. So this is sorted. All right. So now let's move on now, everybody. Let's go to the next worksheet. So everybody go to the next worksheet. Text cleaning 2. Go to text cleaning 2, everybody. If you're there on text cleaning 2, type 2 on the chart for me. If you're there on text cleaning 2 worksheet, type 2 on the chart for me. All right. So what we want to do here is we already have the full names, but we now want to extract the first name and the last name from the full names. We have the full names. Maybe this is what came from the database, but for your reporting, you need to separate the first name from the last name. How do we go about this? I need us to make a guess first, which is you need to leverage what you've learned before. Like I mentioned, analysis is all about thinking through the problem and then digging deep into the database of your knowledge to see what from it is likely to solve the problem at hand. We have the first name here. We want to extract the first name from Jolly Inyame. First name obviously is Jolly. How do you think we can extract Jolly Inyame? What function can we use to extract Jolly from Jolly Inyame? What function can we use to extract Jolly from Jolly Inyame? The left function. Excellent, everybody. So I want us to try it. So everybody, try it. Extract Jolly in Yami from Jolly in Yami and paste your code in the chat. Extract Jolly from Jolly in Yami and paste your code on the chat for me. I see some responses already. Excellent. So now, let's do this now. We do equal to left. I select Jolly in Yami, and I know that Jolly has 5 characters. So I put 5 here, I close my bracket, I hit enter. Then we have Jolly here. Admin, I think you probably should take down the attendance thing for now so people can concentrate. They can fill out their attendance at the end of the class if that will be allowed. All right. So we have Jolly here using the left function and then picking out 5 characters. But when I do this, if I copy that same formula, I copy it down here. Can somebody tell me what is wrong? I want to extract Ali from Ali Sharif, but it gave me Ali space S. What do you think is wrong? Excellent. Because Ali is 3 letters, but at this point, I still asked it to extract 5 characters. So if I go down a bit, I want to extract Olusegun from Olusegun Agagu, but it gave me Olushe. So this is 5 characters again, because what I defined earlier for Jolly was 5 characters. How do you salvage this situation? Think about it for the moment. You don't want to come to each of the cells. Somebody might say that, okay, if I come to Ali Sharif and I change this instead of 5 characters, I do 3. That solves it for Ali. Instead of 5 for Olushe Gun, that's I give it 8, and that's solves it. You can't go cell by cell to fix this. There has to be a way to make this work once and for all. How do we achieve this? Let's think about something, everybody. Let's think about something. If you look at our full names, is there an identifier that will tell us where our first name ends from the full name? Something that sort of tells us that, okay, this is where the first name ends, and then after this thing, the surname begins. What is that thing? Absolutely, it's long journey. You don't want to do that. The space. Excellent. So now, we have figured out that the space is what separates the first name from the last name. Is there a way now that we can tell Excel that go to all of these names, look for the space. Once you figure out the space, return everything to the left of the space. So when it returns everything to the left of the space, that obviously would give us the first name, right? So let's do this now. So I'll do equal to left. Everybody watch this first. Watch this first, then you do yours. So let me make it slightly bolder. Equal to left. I'll select this as the text. Jordan, hear me? I'll put a comma here. But for the number of characters, instead of saying that, it should go on to, I should put 5 there or 6 or 7. I will ask Excel to go and find the space. So when it finds the space, what Excel would do is that it should return the position of the space. But before I combine it, let's do it a step at a time first. I would insert a column here. And then I'll just say space. Let's get to know the position of all these spaces here. I'll come here, I will do equal to find. Remember the find function and the search that I said earlier. I'll do equal to find. And find is asking for 2 mandatory arguments. The last one is optional. What do we want to find is the find text. We want to find a space. How do you represent a space in Excel? Double quote, space, double quote. This is how you represent a space in Excel. Then comma, where should it go and find the space? It should go to this text. And then I'll close my bracket. I'll hit enter. This returned the 6. What does this tell you? It tells you that the space is on the 6th position, or the 6th character in the word is the space. That is what this tells you. If I come slightly downwards, just a step downwards, you see that for the space here, it already tells us that the space is on the 4th character. So Ali is the first 3 characters, the space is the 4th, then we have the surname next to it. Anybody that's still looking for the attendance at this point, you might not be doing yourself any good. If that makes you, so the point is, yes, you are in class, you should prioritize your learning in the class. Attendance can be attended to later. You're already in class. So what should be your utmost priority is you getting the best from the class, really. All right. If I come a step downwards again, it tells us that for Olusegun Agago, the space is the 9th character. So this is what the find function would help you do. We will now combine the find function with the left, so that we, instead of specifying exactly or precisely what the number of characters we want is, we'll just tell Excel to go look for the space. Once it finds the space, it should return everything to the left of that. So I'll take this out again, and then I come back here. So I do equal to left. Once you get this, then we're good. Equal to left. This is the text. I select it. Then for the number of characters, I'll say find space in this text, close the bracket for find, close the bracket for left. This is looking intimidating already, right? And this is why you probably might want to use the function argument box again. But let's just go through this. We are using the left function still. This is our text, B6. Then instead of the number of characters, we are replacing it with the find function. And so what are we finding? We want to look for space in this same text. Yeah, we want to look for space in this same text, and then it wants to find it. That would be obviously the number of characters we want to return. If I hit enter here, this gives us Jolly, which is correct. If I go a step downward, this gives us Ali, which is correct. Another step downward, it gives us Olusegun, which is correct. So let's go again. So everybody just follow now. Equal to left. Let's do together. Equal to left. Equal to left. Then this is the text, Jolly Yami. This is the text we want to extract from. I'll put a comma here. For the number of characters, we would say find. What are we finding? That is the find text. Space. I'll put double quote, space, double quote. That's what we are looking for. Where are we looking this up in? That is in this same text. Go and find the space in between Jolly and Yami. I'll close the bracket for find. I'll close the bracket for left. Then I hit enter. Then I get Jolly. So everybody try this out. You can look at what I have on my formula bar. Try this out. And once you get the first one, double click and tell me if that works for everything. Okay, so let me do it the last time. The last time here, I'll do equal to left. So if you didn't get this earlier, catch up with this now. Left. I'll pick this. This is the text you want to extract from. Then the number of characters, we want you to go find space in this text. Close my bracket twice. One for find, one for left. If you have any bracket unclosed, you see that the colors won't match. So there is a color coding for the both ends now. And then I hit enter. That worked for the first. You can double click to copy it down and it should work for everything. Does this make sense to everybody? If you want to be able to paste your formula in the chart, you can just go back to that cell, copy the formula from the formula bar. You'll be able to paste it. All right. If this makes sense, let's go to the surname now. And I want everybody to follow what I will say. You come here to the surname. Everybody, come here to the surname. Type in Yami the way you want it, the way it should be written. So just type, don't put equal to. So just go into the cell under surname, type in Yami there. type in Yame, enter, it takes you to the cell under it, then press Ctrl E. Press Ctrl E on your keyboard and tell me what happens. Under surname, come to the first cell, type in Yame. Once you type in Yame, enter, you come to the cell under it, then press Ctrl E on your keyboard and tell me what happens. Okay, you got the entire surnames out. Excellent. What we just used now is a feature in Excel called flash fill. Flash fill, that's a feature in Excel. Some of you might not have it, especially anybody that is using a version that is lower than 2016. This will not work for you. What I just did, or what we just did, would not work for you if your version is lower than 2016. 2016 upwards, this would definitely work for you. This is called flash fill in Excel. And if you want to see where the actual command is, if you come here to data, under data, you come here, just around where we have our data validation, you see flash fill here. So flash fill, what it does is that it's an AI tool in Excel. Essentially, it requires you to give an example, which was what we did first. Once you give that example, you press Ctrl E, it tries to look at the example you gave and it replicates the same thing for you. Looking at the data that is just around where you're trying to implement that. So that is how this works. So this can come in very handy when you want to extract from text and you want to do it one-off. Okay, so you can do this. But the disadvantage to this is that if I come to the bottom like this, I add any other name here. If I add Musin Hamid here, this does not automatically update because I didn't use a function here. That is the disadvantage. But then you can also use a function to get out your surname. A bit more complicated than the first name, but it's possible that you do that. Should we do it? Okay, nobody's interested. So let's move on. All right. So, yeah, flash fill, that's what it's called. Okay, we should do it. Okay. So this is it. Let's enter into a contract. Let's enter into a contract. I would do it once. I would explain the logic. I know that some people might not get it at first, the way I would do it. But if you follow my explanation of the logic, you will get it. Then you will refer back to the recording after the class to practice it. Is this a deal? So nobody would tell me that they're trying it, they didn't get it. I won't come back to it. Is this a deal? Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? That's what I want to see. So that we know whether we are doing it or we are not. Okay, good. All right. So that's a deal. There are a number of ways. There are a number of ways to get this out. Like I've always said, it's about how you think through the problem and what sort of solution you're trying to get. So I will do two ways. I will give us two ways. Number one is we already do know that the surname is on the on the right side of the full name. So which means we can use the right function. At the same time, the surname starts the first letter in the surname is in the middle of the full name, which means we can also use the mid function. So let me use the right function first. So I'll do equal to right. I'll do equal to right. What are we extracting from? Jolin Yami, this is what we are extracting from. Then the number of characters we want to extract. If I put 5 here, this will work for Inyame, but when I come down to Ali Sharif, it would not work. So because Sharif is not 5 characters, so we need to make this dynamic. So what I would do is that to get the number of characters that I want to extract, so I can say that it should take the length. So if you want to get the length of any text, you use the len function. I can ask it to take the length of the full name, and then it should subtract the first name from it. Maybe that makes sense. We have the full name. I want to get out the last name. Just pick the length of the full name minus the first name, or pick the length of the full name minus everything from the space backwards. So I can say that minus find the space, find space in this same name, and then I close my bracket, and I get Inyami. So what is this doing? I'm saying that it should extract from the right of Jolin Yami. Then the number of characters it should extract should be, it should get that by subtracting everything from the space behind, the number of characters from space B to the back, subtract that from the total length of the full name. So which means if the full name is 10 characters and space and the first characters is 5, 10 minus 5 leaves us with 5, and we can have the surname to be the remaining character there. So yeah, absolutely. That's what I expected. This is a longer process. So if I copy this down, this would always work for everything. But this is just one of it. So let's, I think we should skip this. But this is just a way to get out the surname. The interesting thing about using functions like this is if I copy this down, this works completely for everything. If I come here, I have a new name. Let me pick somebody's name here. Adeniyi Blessing. Adeniyi Blessing. You see that immediately I get out the surname. So this works. If you use the flash fill, you will not immediately get it. You might need to clean out everything in that column and redo your flash fill. All right, so let's proceed, everybody. Let's proceed. But this is just a way. So we can, this is not even intimidating enough. If I use the mid function, it probably will be longer than this. So what I want us to do here is this. Everybody, look at this. Everybody go to this worksheet, text cleaning 3. Go to text cleaning 3. We are rounding up already. Go to text cleaning 3. If you're on text cleaning 3, type 3 on the chart for me. Type 3 on the chart for me if you're already on text cleaning 3. All right. So what we have here is the opposite of the case we just looked at. The case we just looked at, we have the full name. We are expected to extract the first name and the last name. This is the opposite. Here we have the first name and the last name. We are expected to bring out the full name. How do we do that? A lot of ways we can use to achieve this. But let's look at the simplest first. What we can do is just to do this. Everybody look at this, you get it very quickly now. Equal to, select the first name, and you put the ampersand. So this and symbol is called ampersand. You put the ampersand. And because we want to have a space in between, double quote, space, double quote, like this, another ampersand, and you select the last name. So what ampersand does is it is used to join text together. Two parts of text. You use to bring them to, excuse me, use it to bring them together. That is what ampersand does. So you select the first text, ampersand, space, which is designated by double quote, space, double quote, and then ampersand again, because you want to join that to the last name. You have this, you hit enter, then we have our full names like this. You have our full names. So let me take this again. Equal to the first name. This is the first name. We want to join the first name by using ampersand to space. You're joining that to space. We are joining that to space. I use an ampersand again. We are joining that to the last name. We are joining that to the last name. Hit enter. That gives you the full name. If you have this, paste your code on the chat for me. If it's not working for you, you probably do not get how to get the quote, double quote. So it's not you using single quote twice. That would not work. It's double quote. The key has to give you double quote. For me, it is shift, that key that will give you single quote. That's what you should use. All right, so you can pull that down and that works for you. Other functions that you can use to join in Excel, you can use concat, there's concatenate, there is text join. Not everybody would have that, but almost everybody would have concatenate. Not everybody would have concat and text join, but they work almost the same way. So you can check that out later. All right, are we good, everybody? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Shall we proceed? Somebody got jolly jolly. How did you get jolly jolly? That's interesting. All right, so let's go to the last worksheet, text cleaning 4. If you're already here, type 4 on the chat for me. All right, what we have here, we have email addresses. We have email addresses, and we want to extract first name and surname from our email addresses. We can use our functions to achieve this. So maybe combination of like 3 functions thereabout to achieve this. But other than using the function, I think you already know a way around it now. So somebody should tell us what can we do to get out our first name from these email addresses. How do we do that? What do we use to get our first name out from these email addresses? Yeah, left and find function, yes, but it won't do it all. But instead of using functions from what you just learned, what should you do? I'm still waiting for that thing. I've not seen it yet. Nobody has said it. Control E, Temidayo. Excellent. So everybody, you can use your flash fill to get that out. So do that now, quickly. Thank you, Akande. Yeah, good. So you use your flash fill. Once you get out your first name and your surname, type done on the chat for me. Okay, done, everybody? Anybody have any challenge with this? Omawumi, you probably are just joining. So if Control E doesn't work for you, so this is how you would extract it with functions. So look at this. So look at this, everybody. This is the last thing we're doing, and we call it a day. Think about it this way. The first name is Jolly from Jolly in Yami. So which means that we want to extract everything before this dot, right? Want to extract everything before the dot. That's how we are doing for first name. So I can do equal to left. I select this as the text. I do find dot in this name. Okay. And you give me everything to the left of the dot. But something would happen now. I get Jolly dot. What do we think? What do we think is happening here? Looks like nobody's following, right? Because of the dot, excellent. So I asked it to find the dot and then return everything up to the dot. So the reason why we were not seeing it earlier with the space was actually returned. But because it's just a space, it is not a visible character. That is why we didn't see it as part of the result. So the way to cater for this is to do equal to left of this text, find the dot, excuse me, from this text. But when you find the dot, I don't want you to return the dot. So I'll do -1. So which means once you find the dot, go a step backwards. That's what this means. I'll close my bracket here. I'll hit enter. This takes out the dot here. I can push this down. Everybody's fine. Yeah. Does this make sense to everybody? There's a formula here. Does this make sense to everybody? No worry, you're gradually stepping up your Excel game. So it's in bits. We are moving up now. So you start seeing a bit more complex things that you need to attend to. All right. Okay, good. So if this is clear, I'll just do it again for the sake of those that didn't get it. Equal to left. Then left of this name, find dot in this same name, close the bracket for find, then subtract 1 so that it goes a step backward. It doesn't include the dots in your result. I'll close the bracket for this now, and I hit enter. I get out Jolly. But if I want to get out in Yummy, how do I get out in Yummy from here? The way to go about in Yummy is this. So let me just hide the column for first name. What I can do is this. I can say that equal to mid, because I know that in Yummy starts from the middle. In Yummy is from the middle, so I'll say equal to mid of this text. Then where I want to start from, I want to start from the next character after the dot. That's where I'm starting from. I don't want to start from the dot. I don't want it to include the dot. So let me do that first so that you see what that means. So I'll do find this dot in this text. Find a dot in this text. I'll close it because just to tell it that this is what I want to start from. Then the number of characters, I will just I'll make this 5 for now. I'll close my bracket. I'll hit enter. You see that that way the dot will be included. The dot will be included this way. So the way to go about it not being included is to do equal to mid. I'll select this as the text. Then the start norm, I will say find dot in the same text. But I want you to go a step ahead. So I'll add +1 so that it doesn't include the text. It doesn't include the dot. It goes to n. And then for the number of characters, I only want to return, I can say that I should return at minus dot. So if it gets the position of the at, then it should subtract the position of the dot from it. That will leave me with Inyami. So this is just about thinking around it. So I can say that it should do find at. So let me just zoom this back out. Find at in the same text minus find dot in the same text. Somebody is already running away. What is happening in the same texts? Yep. And then I hit enter. So art is included. So I need to say find art. When you find art, then I want you to go one step backwards. Yeah. And then I can push this down. All right. So this is where we are. So let me just zoom into the formula bar. So you see this looks slightly complicated, but somehow you'll get there. Don't worry. So it's a step at a time. But the major takeaway, I know some people would have definitely somebody would have thrown away their phone. So the important thing here is that you need to, the way you will get a good hang of this is to practice. So you practice and then you try to understand the thought process behind it. That is the most important thing. Yes, I know Control E is easier, absolutely. But again, like some of us do not have flash view, so you cannot use Control E. If you don't have flash view, you can use Control E. This is the way you go about it. So sad to say to you, this is how you go about it. But then just keep your mind opened. If you try this 1, 2 times, 3 times, thinking about the thought process around it, you definitely would get to understand this. So functions can get easily complicated, but once you know what you want to achieve, that's the first thing, and how you think you want to achieve that, then translate that to what Excel understands. So it's 3 steps or 4 steps. Number 1 is, what do you want to achieve? Number 2, how do you think you want to achieve that? Which is, what are the patterns in between to combine? Number 3, what functions can work for each of the patterns that you've identified. Number 4, then you combine those functions together, then you'll be fine. So I think this is a good place to end the class for today. One thing that you probably would owe me is to practice. Remember that you are learning something that is pretty technical. You are learning something that is pretty new to most of you. You need to practice as much as possible. So you can't, this is not something that you would wake up to do once and then you say that you've gotten a mastery of it. It doesn't work that way. This is something I've probably been doing for 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years, thereabout, and I've been doing it consistently. So that probably tells you why it looks like I've mastered it to this level. So you need to put in the effort, make our time to work on this every single day. The next class is on Thursday. Thursday, by God's grace, when we come, we are looking at another set of functions. We are not coming back to this again. So we are done with the text function today. We go to another set of functions. You get to know them on Thursday, and we'll continue our Excel game that way. This is a good point to stop. Let me see if we have questions, if there's any question tracked. Okay, so I think it's just one I see here. Thanks a lot, Peace. Why do you have to use comma to separate argument? That is the default in Excel. So if you look at any Excel function that you want to use, equal to left, you already will see in the argument that Excel expects you to separate the argument using comma. So that is what you must do. If you omit that comma, it would not work. You get an error. So you have to do that. That is what Excel expects that you use. And I think this is dependent on the regional setting. If you're using a system that is set to another region, I can't say specifically now, maybe a region like China or some other places, because they will have their own characters to separate things. It might not be a comma in that instance. But for us, Excel, for us in Africa, Nigeria, you have to use comma to separate your arguments. All right, that's the question I see here. A lot of things on the comments. I'm not sure I can catch up with this. Looks like a lots here. But ensure that you practice as much as you can so that you get a better hang of this. And for those of you that you probably you had not filled out the attendance form, I think it has been pinned. If you look at the third messages, you should see it there, or maybe the admin can display that on the screen again. Thanks again, everybody. Remember the usual thing, ensure that you document your learnings. It is important. Document your learnings. When you learn something and you are able to summarize the learning, you are able to put it into writing, it sort of sticks further because you would have learned it twice. So that is something that works for me, which is something that I've adopted. Probably works for you too. But key thing, practice, practice, practice. See you on Thursday by God's grace. Bye, everybody.
I felt like you were juggling chainsaws while riding a